What's happening, VC? Erik the Viking back again. Part 2 of the Brazil stuff. I've had a few nice comments from you guys already. Like I said, I had this whole issue with the webcam, so I'm using my iPhone now. It took 6 hours to load up that video yesterday. I think there must be a problem with my computer, because that's not right, is it? So I'm going to try and keep this one a bit shorter and see how it goes. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, because 6 hours to upload a video is insane. I can't be doing that. Anyway, so let's crack on. So carrying on from where we left off, still on the letter M. The Mutants. Now, this is the band that got me into Brazilian music years ago. I read about this album in Mojo magazine, and I still remember the cover. It's got such a striking cover. I thought that looks cool. I was quite young at the time, and I can't remember how I actually heard the album. But funnily enough, I was a big fan of the band The Bees. I still am. British band. They're called Band of Bees in America, I believe. And they did a cover of Amina Menina on this. And so when I heard this, I was like, oh shit, that's what the Bees did. And, then I learned from that. So this was one of the first Brazilian albums I ever owned. And this is a Brazilian pressing from 1985 on the Polyphar label, which is still owned by Polydor. Not sure why it's called Polyphar, but they basically dealt in the Polydor reissues in the 80s. And this still, in England, is about £40–50. An original Polydor pressing is stupid money, but I'm determined to get one day. Anyway, so yeah, Mutants were the first band that I really got into. And, from Brazil. So, this is the only album I've got, unfortunately, at present. I do intend to find the others, even if it is the Polyphar pressings. I'm happy with that, because I really can't afford the original pressings at the moment. Okay, next up, another Brazilian musician that I heard about years ago through his work with Miles Davis is Hermeto Pascoal. Been a fan of his. Basically he's on Miles's Live Evil album. And I still remember thinking, this guy sounds pretty cool. So it wasn't until recently that I discovered his stuff properly. So Hermeto's on his own, really. I put him for me, his music reminds me quite a bit of Frank Zappa's jazzier stuff. Very odd melodies and interesting rhythms and things. And he's a genius. I mean, he plays piano, sax, all sorts, flute. And this album is actually his debut album from 1970. Only came out in America on the Cobblestone label. Produced by Airto Moreira. I think I'm saying that right. Obviously another Brazilian legend. So yeah, 1970 this came out. If you look at this photo here, you can see here Hermeto there is playing, apparently it says on the back, 36 apple juice bottles tuned with water, which he actually plays as a solo on one of the albums, which gives you an idea of how insane this guy is. And he's still going now. I'm desperately after his second album, which came out in Brazil on the Cinta label, called A Música de Livre de Hermeto, and it is awesome. I haven't got one, but yeah, this album's awesome. It's got a really nice track on it called Yogurt. Really weird sort of jazzy big band track with just an insane Fender Rhodes solo, really dirty solo. Yeah, this album's pretty heavy. I'd highly recommend it. The only other Hermeto album I have is his Live at Montreux album, 1979. This only came out in Brazil, and it's taken me a long time to track one of these down. It just doesn't turn up much. It's a double album, and if you look closely there, that's what I'm going to look like when I'm older, I think. Yeah, there's also footage of this gig on YouTube, which I'd highly recommend. And it was watching that which kind of made me want to get more into him, because it's just so good. Like, there's one track where he does this insane clavinet solo, and his scat singing and everything. So yeah, double disc on Atlantic. A beautiful shape. The only other copy I've seen of this has been very expensive, and you'd think from an album from this late period it wouldn't be too expensive, but maybe this didn't sell a lot, I'm not sure. But it's very good, a very good live set. Another Brazilian act that I've only I bought this on impulse. Secos and Molhados. It's a sort of psychedelic, funky Brazilian thing. This is their first album. I mean, I bought it because of the sleeve, because you know if it's a sleeve like that, it's either going to be really good or really shit. But it's really good. It's got the lyric insert, and it's on the Continental label, which is a legendary label in its own right, purely for the fact that Verocai's album was originally on there, in my opinion. Yeah, so that's that. That's a cool album. And this is their second album, also on Continental. There's a tear on the sleeve. Apart from that, it is in beautiful shape. And this is from '74, which shows this was around the time that Continental would start customising their labels, which was quite unusual even in England at the time. So yeah, I mean this is a good album too, similar sort of thing. But again, I've only bought these out too recently, and I need to listen to them more. I've listened to them once and I really liked them, so turn this down a bit. Yeah, another one which I bought on impulse, which I did not regret because it is superb, is Claudette Sauce's first album, I believe, from 1969 on the Philips label. Really nice bossa stuff on here, some really good sort of funky stuff. Really good female vocals. I love Brazilian female vocals anyway, and this is good, seriously. I've just been actually, a little update, I've just been chatting to a friend in Brazil who I buy a lot of these albums from. He's just picked me up a nice copy of Gal Costa's Cinema Olympia album, even though I can't afford it at the moment, but hopefully he'll keep it for me. An original mono as well. He's also got for me a couple of Milton Nascimento albums, who I'm big on, but I haven't got any of his albums. He's got me Club de Esquina, Milagro do Peixes, I think I'm saying that right, and Minas. And also, now, I will be doing a video on this album alone because I've heard this recently and it's completely blown me away. Lo Borges, who did the Club de Esquina albums with Milton, his solo album from 1972, he didn't do another album for about 10 years, is a masterpiece. I'm serious. One of the best Brazilian albums I've heard, definitely up there for me with Verocai and all that stuff. And he's getting me one of those as well. So when I get that, I will be doing a video purely on that album because it is worth it. Okay. Marcos Valle, one of the first Brazilian artists I got massively into and thought I've got to get as much of his albums as I can. I've still only got a few, but the few ones I've got are good. This is Samba 68, which was his English language album, which came out in the States, and this unusually is an English pressing. I've actually shown this on another video before, but I've got to show it again, of course. It's a stereo English pressing on Verve, an original. Now, this English pressing I'd say is a lot rarer than the American one. It's actually, it's in the English price guide, the record collector price guide, but they don't even know what the catalogue number is, but there you go guys, catalogue number. So yeah, awesome album. I mean, this was one of the later Marcos Valle albums I heard because I heard the track Crickets Sing for Anna Maria, which is just beautiful. And that made me want to get it, and I got it. So that was cool. Now, I haven't shown this before because I only got this recently. I'm very proud to say I've got one of these. This is an original pressing of Guerra, the first Marcos Valle album I really got into, and you'll see here it's also a stereo pressing, which is even more unusual because they just don't turn up. I got this from a friend of mine in England who's a Brazilian collector called George. He actually sent this back to Brazil to get the sleeve remade because the original Odeon sleeves are in sort of perforated plastic sleeves, and he said it was completely ripped and wrecked. So there's a place in Brazil that actually remakes them. It took about 2 months for him to get it back, but it was definitely worth the wait because it looks good as new, and it's definitely an original on the beautiful stereo Odeon label there. Yeah, this I mean basically the track Guerra by Marcos Valle was the first track of his I heard, and this has also got Vanda Vidal on it, which is just one of the most beautiful songs ever written. This album's just superb, and I'm sure you guys know how good this album is. It took me a while to actually get into the rest of the album because of those 2 tracks. I just listened to those constantly, but I've now realised the rest of the album is brilliant as well. It's awesome. Even better though is, just by a fraction, for me, is Vento Soul, which is probably my favourite Marcos Valle album. The first album of his I became proper obsessed with. Again, this is an original stereo, a promo as well. I got this about 2 years ago now. It's got the lyric sheet as well, which is even more brilliant. Yeah, this is a beautiful album. Really nice psychedelic folk, funky, awesome stuff. And it's on the original Odeon label there. And it's got the red promo stamp on the back. Yeah, awesome. And you know, I got this from Brazil as well years ago through eBay. The guy put it on there, and it finished without any bids, and it had quite a high price on it. I think it was like $100. For me, that's quite a high price, especially then. 2 years ago, I was not earning very good money, so I basically emailed him and said, "Would you take $70?" And he did, and that was it. So I got a mint promo of that for $70, which I'm very happy with. And I think even these albums are rare in Brazil because they just didn't sell. Now, I've shown this before. This, of course, is the holy grail of Marcos albums, Previsão do Tempo, which is just brilliant as well. I got this off George in England. I don't know how he got this, but he already had his own copy. Now, what this makes this even more special is that it has a lyric insert, and I've never seen any come up for sale with the lyric sheet, but this is proof that it does exist. You see it's original because it's kind of faded around the edges. Yeah, so when he told me it had the lyric sheet, I was like, "You sure you're not thinking of Vento Soul?" And he was like, "Of course I'm not." You know, so I think he thought I was sort of taking the piss. But yeah, yeah, that's that. So my Marcos Valle album collection isn't too bad. I still need his 1970 album on Odeon, preferably in stereo. I've seen one for 300 real, which is about £90, which I may treat myself to, because I haven't seen any other copies of that come up for sale, and that is also a brilliant album. Okay, and 2 more artists. Now, obviously I mentioned him quite a bit already. Caetano Veloso, just awesome. And like with Gilberto Gil, another leader of the Tropicalia movement. This is his first album from '68, a masterpiece. Definitely one of the definitive Tropicalia albums. Again, this is from my friend in Brazil. A really nice original mono pressing. Very hard to find now. It doesn't sell for an awful lot, I don't think. I think you can get it for about £40–50 when it turns up over here, but it's just really nice to have, and finding one in such nice condition is very hard. I've got his second album, also self-titled, known as the White Album. Sleeve's quite tatty, but nearly every copy I've found has had a tatty sleeve because it's plain white. This album's just as good, and this was like Gilberto Gil's album from the same time. The vocals for this were recorded in his prison cell. Lyric insert as well, and I'll give you a quick peek of the label. Upside down, sorry. Original mono. My favourite track on this is probably Alpha Omega, the last one, with this just sort of really nice mellow funky groove for about 5 minutes. It just percolates and builds up, and his vocals are great too. The lyrics are just really awesome and trippy. It's just a great album, man. Now, I haven't got his third or fourth albums, which are both really good. The third one, A Little More Blue, and Transa, they were both recorded in London. Transa's the better of the two. Little More Blue just reflects how he must have been feeling at the time, living in London, not knowing where he was, completely alien country, you know, and it really does sum that up. It's quite a gloomy album, but it's really good, really atmospheric. Now, one of my favourite Caetano albums, which is the only one I have, is a Raca Azul, which means blackberry, I believe, or blueberry. Probably blueberry, that's blue, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, the album cover says it all. This is almost like him trying to take the piss out of Gal Costa's India cover. He's got the same colour pants on and everything. Yeah, I mean, I show people this album cover and I say, yeah, you wait till you hear the record. This album's just insane. Apparently this did so badly at the time that people were just taking it back to the stores because they just couldn't understand it. Again, this has a nice insert with it. 1972 this was, so it was his first album back in Brazil. The majority of this album is highly experimental. Considering that he was a massive artist over there, it was quite a bold move, and obviously it didn't go down too well with a lot of people there. I actually bought this in England through Discogs for about £20. Really nice pressing. Original Brazilian pressing. Yeah, so it's got sound collages on it, sort of experiments with vocals. Some of it's almost like, there's one track that reminds me of It Can't Happen Here by Zappa and the Mothers. Really warped sort of barbershop vocals. I reckon he might have been listening to Freak Out when he did that. There's also one of the most insane psych funk tracks called Il Quera Sa Mulher. Check that out. I had it on in the background, I think, on this video. I think it was the third track. Yeah, awesome album. And I haven't heard any of his stuff after that. Apparently it gets very commercial after that, which isn't a bad thing. Need to listen to that too. And last but not least, I'm probably saving one of the best till last here, Mr. Verocai. Now, of course, this is not an original. Don't get excited. This is a love and hate pressing from the US from about 5 years ago. Still quite hard to find now. And it, in the words of Sequoia Flame, it was a true virgin when I got it. Yeah, I mean, this is nice. This album's just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Now, I don't know if you guys know the story about how rare the original pressing on Continental is. About a year and a half ago, a mint original pressing sold on eBay for $5,000 because I was watching it. And I've got Arthur Verocai on my Facebook. He's very approachable, very nice guy. Can't speak an awful lot of English, but you know, he's very appreciative. I've spoken to him a few times. So I sent him the link of the auction. And he was just over the moon, he couldn't believe it, and he put it up as his status as well, which was quite cool. Yeah, so, you know, he was saying even he doesn't have it. Basically, I think the story is that the album, when it came out, again, the lyrics were quite political. This is Hermeto, by the way. Quite political, got sort of dismissed at the time. I always thought it was withdrawn, but I found out that I think a lot of copies were destroyed in a fire. Typical. Same as another really rare Brazil album, Pei Baru, by Zero Malos, which is a good album. Obviously I don't have it. That also got destroyed in a fire, the majority of them. So that pretty explains why this is sold for $5,000. There's only been about 2 other copies on eBay that were wrecked and still went for about $1,000. So this $5,000 one, basically, this is where it gets a bit more interesting. The guy that had it on auction put up sound files that you could save for yourself of the whole album. So I had to listen to him and I was like, hang on a minute, this mix is completely different. It's better. This is the only shitty thing about this reissue. It's the only available mix, and for some reason they compressed the fuck out of it. I don't know why. I don't know if they transferred it from vinyl. Maybe the master tapes are lost, which wouldn't surprise me. So practically, the mix on the reissue is in mono, and the sound is awful. It's hissy. And then basically, I downloaded these original sound files, and they are perfect. True stereo, proper separation, and you can tell this record was nearly mint. So I was like, oh, okay, so that's another piece of the puzzle. So I've no idea why they don't just sort of redo it with that mix. There must be some reason behind it. But if anyone wants those sound files, I shouldn't really advertise it, but I'd be more than happy to send them over because I've sort of separated them into separate files for each track and everything, and that is the way to listen to that album. Anyway guys, I'm getting over time again. This video is going to end up being horrendously long and taking forever to load up. Fingers crossed it doesn't. If there's anyone that's any good with things like this and knows how I could somehow reduce the memory on this file and get it to load quicker, I'd be more than grateful. I'm not a computer expert, so yeah, guys, again, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed my little Brazilian thing. As I say, I'm buying more all the time, so I will be updating on that. Yeah, again, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good day. It's been Erik the Viking. Peace.